Howdy, this is Scott Savage with the Sawtooth Avalanche Center with your weekend update for Friday, March 18th. And just a friendly reminder, this product is not meant to replace the daily avalanche forecast. So we're going to look at the past, present, and future, see what happened over the past week, what's going on right now, and what to look for going into the weekend and next week as well. So real brief recap. We had a series of spring storms, nothing huge, but definitely got some snowfall and some kind of typical squally spring weather Sunday through Wednesday. Then seasonal temps with some sunshine, fair amount of it, yesterday and today, so Thursday and Friday. And we saw some avalanche activity, more so this week than we have in some recent times, and definitely developed some tricky conditions. And I'll get more into that about what you can look for and why they're tricky. And the photo, there is a wind slab avalanche that was skier triggered up near Banner Summit, near Copper Mountain on yesterday, on Thursday. So earlier this week, we got about 4 to 12 inches of snowfall, about an inch of water or snow water equivalent in the Banner Summit, Sawtooth, and Western Smoky areas, 2 to 6 inches around Galena Summit, and sadly about 1 to 4 inches in the Soldier and Wood River Valley Mountains. So definitely a bias where it was favoring the northern and western mountains, which has been a pattern of late. If we look at what that did to the danger, less snow equals less avalanches. So down in the Soldiers and Wood River Valley, a mix of moderate and low. In the Galena Summit area, kind of a steady moderate, and this is showing the highest danger rating for the different elevation bands on each day, with the most recent at the top there, March 18th. And then if we move over to the Galena Summit, or excuse me, to the Sawtooth and Western Smoky and Banner area, we had a little bit of considerable during that storm and otherwise moderate. So more snow equals more avalanches. This is a graphic that shows of the observations, the field reports that both we, the Sawtooth Avalanche Center forecasters, and other local pros and members of the public submit, showing how many had reports of avalanches in the observations. And you can see that a fair number of them this week people were reporting avalanches. So that was things that we saw or that other folks saw and or triggered. And that's continuing into the last 2 days. The farthest one over to the right is today, and we haven't received observations yet for today. So that's why that's 0. There's a good chance that that may not be 0 if we look at it tomorrow morning. So what were the avalanches like? Some of them were pretty predictable, that when you get a foot of snow over a couple days and some wind, that you're going to have avalanches in alpine terrain in wind-loaded cirques and alpine features like this. You can see some things that released during the storm that have been blown in, and things that released near the tail end of the storm. So no surprise there. And then this is looking down from below at that wind slab that was skier triggered up near Copper Mountain on yesterday on the 17th, again in wind loaded terrain. Nothing huge, but definitely big enough to, it's a real avalanche, probably a foot or so crown, and definitely big enough to catch people. This person was not caught. They were able to ski out of this one. And then 2 days ago on Wednesday, this is up Smiley Creek, around 8,500 feet on a northeast facing slope. And this is in much more protected terrain. So it may have received a little bit of wind loading in the first part of the storms earlier this week, but definitely didn't have any wind loading. So very soft, fluffy, powdery snow near the surface when this was triggered. So it's definitely a little bit of a surprise. So I think that the key points there are that all these slopes were fairly steep, all over 35 degrees, and it involved both wind loaded and not wind loaded terrain with the avalanche activity.
Hey folks, it's Chris from the Sawtooth Avalanche Center, and I'm in the northern Sawtooths on an east-northeast aspect at 8,700 feet. Yesterday in the same zone, in the Sawtooth and Western Smoky zone, skier triggered a thin slab avalanche near Smiley Creek. It was about 6 to 10 inches thick, and it broke on top of a thin layer of sugary facets on top of the rain crust that formed at the end of February and early March. So I've dug here to look at this, and I did in fact find that same layer, but here it's about 16 inches down. pretty soft slab here, but it does have a little density at the base. We do actually have a slab and a weak layer. That's the kind of the right ingredients for an avalanche. I did a stability test. I've actually done 2, and I got a pretty unstable result there. And you can see that, excuse the dog here. You can see there's kind of some sugary facets on top of this rain crust here. So the fly in the ointment here is that this layer doesn't exist everywhere. It's only on a certain kind of narrow aspect and elevation band. Sometimes it doesn't have quite enough snow on it. There are also other weak layers that we've been sort of seeing too. And it takes kind of a specific set of circumstances where you have the slab and the weak layer just right. So it's really variable and it's fairly unpredictable. That really makes it challenging to assess like what slope is stable and what's not. So the best action, and the one that I'm taking personally and most of us at the Abbey Center are starting to do, is we're just starting to back off a steeper terrain. It's just so hard to know what you're skiing or riding on that we're just sticking to lower angle slopes, kind of 35 degrees and under, and really avoiding any kind of wind-loaded slope. But as you can see, there are certain kind of isolated wind-sheltered slopes where this could potentially be a problem as well.
So that was Chris Lundy up yesterday on Thursday up in the Sawtooths and seeing very similar conditions to what was responsible for that avalanche, the skier triggered avalanche up in Smiley Creek, where even in protected terrain, if it's steeper, it's starting to be pretty spooky, which is what's making things tricky, as I alluded to before, tricky conditions. So the current danger today, a mix of moderate and low, so moderate at middle and upper elevations in the Sawtooths and Banner Summit zones. In the Galena Summit area, it's moderate up in the upper elevations and alpine terrain, and then better stability, so low danger in middle and lower elevations. And in the Soldier Wood River Valley Mountains, it's widespread low. So large avalanches are unlikely in that area. So what's going to happen coming into the weekend? Well, the weather forecast is tomorrow is going to be another warm day. So Saturday will, with showers developing in the evening. Notice I said showers, could be rain or snow, depending on the elevation. I don't think it'll be raining that high. Can tune in tomorrow morning for Chris's forecast, but it looks like it may start out as valley rain and mountain snow showers. And then tomorrow night into Sunday, a cold front comes through, so it'll get much colder, some breezy conditions, and those light snow showers will continue into Sunday. It's going to favor the northern and western mountains, so the Banner, Summit, and Sawtooth and Western Smokies once again. And we're looking at not a whole lot of snow, 1 to 3 inches. So hopefully you get 2 to 3 inches up north and west, and not as much down south, closer to Ketchum and Cary and Fairfield. For the danger and problems this weekend, so should see a steady continued avalanche danger similar to what it is today. Or a slight increase in the danger, depends how much it snows. We'll see how that shakes out. So where is it most dangerous? This is kind of the key point for the weekend update today. So in the northwest zones, where we've received more snow recently, and we're more worried about those weak layers near the surface, so in the upper 2 feet of the snowpack being overloaded, both where it's wind loaded and on slopes steeper than about 35 degrees. So if you have both of those, then stay away. And if you have one or the other, you should be aware that you may be able to trigger avalanches. We're consistently finding that weak snow that was responsible for the recent avalanches above about 8,000 feet and on easterly through northerly, so east, northeast, northwest, and north aspects. Those seem to be a little bit more consistent with the distribution of that weak layer, that crust and facet combo. And in the Galena area in alpine terrain, so it's not as much of a problem because we haven't received that much snow down in middle elevations, but definitely keep your eyes peeled when you're up in the alpine. You should expect to find some wind slabs. So we'll see a mixture of persistent slab, wind slab, and wet loose avalanche problems over the next couple of days. And then moving into next week, so once we get into Monday, into the work week and moving forward, We're looking at a significant warming trend. We should be seeing the hottest temperatures of the year towards the end of the week. So up at 8,000 feet, it'll start out fairly cool, like around 30 degrees Fahrenheit for a high on Monday, but warming up to near 50 up in the mountains by the Thursday through Sunday period. It looks like it'll be a mixture of sun and clouds, some really nice days and some partly cloudy to mostly cloudy days. And unfortunately, no snow or rain after this little system comes through this weekend until at least next weekend. I don't want to postulate what's going to happen beyond that. So the danger and problems next week will probably transition from the persistent wind slabs that we've been seeing and move more into true wet issues with those really warm temperatures. So wet loose and even possibly wet slabs. And the wet loose, they probably will be involving more than just whatever snow falls this weekend. So especially in areas where the snowpack's thinner. So we'll have that on the radar for sure. And the danger, it's hard to say. It depends on how hot it gets. It could increase more significantly if it really gets hot and isn't freezing at night. That remains to be seen as well with the weather. So check the forecast each morning at 7:30. You can sign up to have it emailed to you by going to the bottom of any page on the website at sawtoothavalanche.com. You just type in your email address right there and it'll show up in your inbox every morning. Observations. Your observations are huge. It really helps us try to keep track of these tricky conditions and know when we are getting activity, when people are able to ski trigger avalanches, especially. So if you see or trigger an avalanche, please do let us know. There are a variety of ways to do that. You can either screenshot this or go to the bottom of, again, any page on our website, and there's a list of ways to submit observations. And pray for a big April. We sure need some snow.